Imagine TikTok being so powerful that they actually help you identify the person that almost murdered you. On my For You page the other day, I found this viral video that you guys might recognize, which states videos I took before almost being hunted and murdered. I clicked on her page, listened to her story, and was like, I have to know more. So I reached out and got the full thing. This is the case of Flowers Don't Growl. April 29th through April 30th of 2019, Taylor and her boyfriend Chris decided to take a trip to Falls Creek Falls, Tennessee. Taylor was 5 months pregnant at the time, so they figured they needed one last little trip before they were going to have a baby. And Taylor swore that Chris was going to propose. So that's why she documented so much of this trip, not even realizing that later on it was going to be used as evidence. So they set up at their assigned camping lot. They spent their time hiking, exploring, having fun. Taylor would collect flowers along the way to document it for memory's sake, but please keep these flowers in mind. And then on the second day, everyone from their assigned area was gone except for them. So they were more alone than before, or so.
What is a creepy, unexplained childhood experience that you had?
When I was a kid, my family and I lived in a house in Texas. It was a 2-story house and my parents were putting my little sister to sleep in her crib. Then they went on downstairs and I continued to play with my toys at the top of the staircase. For some random reason, I decided to look at the bottom of the staircase and I saw my sister crawling around on the ground. So I thought to myself, I wonder how she got down there. Then I remembered, my parents had just put her in the crib about 5 minutes ago. So while I stare at her, I realize that she's a little pale and she has huge black eyes, but otherwise she looks just like my sister. So naturally, I start screaming and my parents come running. I'm hysterical and my parents are asking me what's wrong. I point and I say, look, there's Sneha, she's at the bottom of the staircase. But she was gone. Around my 18th birthday, my family and I took a trip to India. We were visiting my grandma and one night she decided to oil and braid my hair and my sister's hair. So as my grandma was braiding my sister's hair, she looked over at my mom and she said, Ritu, Sneha's twin would have been a girl. I look at my mom and I say, what twin? And my mom looks at me and says, Swasti, I never told you this, but I miscarried Sneha's twin.
This story was submitted to me by a follower who would like to remain anonymous. When I was 14, I had a best friend named Lucy, and we had one of those friendships where we were really close really quickly, which I now know is a red flag and usually a sign of a toxic friendship. But I was too young to know this then. Our favorite thing to do together was hang out at the mall. Our parents would let us go alone as long as we abided to one rule. We had to stay together at all times, and we were always pretty good about that. One night we were having a sleepover at Lucy's house and her Uncle Mike came over for dinner. Uncle Mike was pretty loud and goofy. He showed us like 8 magic tricks that night. I liked him, he was fun. But as I was helping clear dishes after dinner, I overheard Mike and Lucy's mom having a hushed conversation in the kitchen. She was like, you've had too much to drink, why don't you just spend the night? So Mike ended up sleeping over that night too. Right before going to sleep, Lucy's mom came into the bedroom, and she told us to remember to shut the bedroom door before falling asleep. When I asked Lucy why she said that, Lucy just shrugged and said, I don't know. But we made sure the bedroom door was shut just like she asked. In the middle of the night, I woke up to the feeling of someone tickling my feet.
Can you solve this mystery? This is the story of 8 college students who went on a mountain climbing trip that went terribly wrong. One of them went insane and the other one went missing. But what really happened here, and what are the rest of them hiding? All the clues are hidden in what I'm about to say. So these 8 college students decided to climb the tallest mountain in their area, but the weather took an unexpected turn for the worse and they ended up stranded there for 2 weeks, unable to come back down. After 2 weeks, a rescue team found them, but there were only 7 of them left. The 8th climber was missing, and the 7th climber had gone completely insane and had to be put in a mental hospital. The remaining 6 climbers made a full recovery, and when the police began questioning them, all their answers were the same. They say the 8th climber went to find help and never came back. Then the police went to the mental hospital to talk to the 7th climber, just to see if he knew something that the rest of them didn't. But when they tried to talk to him, all he did was bang his head on the wall and repeat, 8888. What happened to the missing 8th climber? And what drove—
This is why you should always keep your phone charged. A girl named Marissa came home from school at around 3 p.m. She walked in the door and told her mom that some random number kept calling her all day. Her mom told her the person may have the wrong number and just to ignore it. Marissa said okay and begins to do her homework. A couple hours later, she receives a phone call from the same number. Marissa answers it this time and says, hello? The man then says, we finally found you. Don't worry, bunny. Marissa begins to panic and tells her mom what just happened. Her mom's face goes blank and says, what did the man just call you? Marissa says, he called me bunny. Her mom yells and says, grab your stuff, we need to leave. Marissa, confused, packs her things and gets into the red car. Her mom begins driving fast and turns on the radio. The radio says, the baby named Marissa who was kidnapped in the hospital 10 years ago has been found and police are searching for a red car. Marissa looks at the woman and says, who are you? The woman looks back and says, you can call me mommy. This is why you should always FaceTime time before bed. A woman named Catherine got off work and decided to get in the shower. She dried off, put her hair in a ponytail, and got ready for her FaceTime date with her husband since he was out of town. She laid in bed, got comfortable, and picked up her phone. She dialed her husband's phone number and it started to ring. Her husband answered the phone and the two talked about how their day went and just kind of caught up with one another. Then the power suddenly goes out. Catherine began to worry, but her husband told her not to panic. Since they purchased an older home, power outages were normal. Then he told her the power would turn back on in about 30 minutes. Catherine said okay and continued her conversation in the dark. She then realized her phone battery was low, so she reached to grab her charger. As she was reaching for the charger, her phone falls. Her husband becomes silent over the phone. She reaches under the bed and picks up her phone and says, "I think you're accidentally on mute." Her husband looks at her and says, "Under the bed." If you guys want to see more stories like this, make sure to like and follow.
My house gets more haunted every single day. So as always, I was up late last night because I didn't have school today. So I was up really late doing my makeup, looking all good. And it seems like every time I'm up doing my makeup, something happens. So I go into my dad's room because he has like this really big mirror. And he was at work, so I was like, okay. So I go in there to, look at myself in the mirror, check myself out. And I start hearing little creaks behind me, little tee-tee-tee. So I start getting freaked out and I go to my room to go grab my phone. And my room's like right over there, my dad's room's right over there. And from my room, you could see my dad's mirror. So I'm walking out of my room and I look into my dad's mirror and I see a face staring at me. And what do, you might ask? I ran outside at midnight and I sat out there for about 2 hours. Before I got too tired, I just went to bed. Do you guys want to see the mirror? This is the mirror that I saw a face in. How beautiful. But it only gets worse.